Hello and welcome to the Kitchen Table Modellers Workshop. My name's Ian and this is my modelling bench where I do all my modelling. Kit review day today and it's a fantastic kit. It's Revell's 1/48 scale Consolidated PBY 5 Catalina. And this is the true seaplane version and quite an important aircraft if you consider the role it played in RAF's Coastal Command Service in the Second World War, in fighting the Atlantic campaign, closing the air gap over the Atlantic and basically waging war on the submarine force, the Kriegsmarine, that was wreaking havoc on the Atlantic supply convoys. Very, very important aircraft, and very, very important aircraft when you consider gallantry awards awarded to aircrew as a part of the actions taken that they carried out in the service. And when I say that, I'm referring to a gentleman called John Alexander Cruickshank, who is the last surviving recipient of the Victoria Cross that served in the Second World War. What an absolute hero. Now, I'm recording this on the 20th of June 2024, and he turned 104 years old in May this year. A very humble gentleman by all accounts, but an absolute hero, and quite a close connection to me in that he flew his aircraft for 210 Squadron. Aircraft was Juliet Victor 928 Yankee, and he flew out of RAF Sullom Voe. Now, for all of you that don't know where RAF Sullom Voe is, it's situated in the north part of the North Mainland of the Shetland Islands. There's a huge great oil terminal there now, but in the Second World War, that particular water inlet was a thriving seaplane base where they flew Catalinas and Sunderlands from, and they waged war in the North Atlantic and the North Sea, protecting the Shetland bus that delivered supplies and agents to the Norwegian resistance during the Second World War. So it was a really, really busy air base, and John flew from there. I'm just looking at the Imperial War Museum page. He does it tell you the date? You'll be able to look it up yourself. But basically, John detected a submarine on the surface on the Norwegian coast. He made an attack run where the depth charges failed to release from the aircraft. He then circled round and made a second attack run where he was able to successfully attack and sink the submarine. But in commencing the second run, the submarine crew had trained in their aircraft fire and basically peppered the aircraft with shell fire. John received over 70 wounds to him personally. I think the navigator was possibly mortally wounded, and other members of the crew were wounded. But even with all these wounds, he refused to take morphine, just received basic first aid, whilst the co-pilot flew the aircraft back to RAF Sullom Voe, and then he helped get that aircraft down because the co-pilot was less experienced than John, and John wanted to make sure that aircraft was safely returned to the base so he and his crew could get home. And he survived his wounds, and like I said, he's lived to 104 years old, and the man is an absolute hero, a very unassuming hero from what I read and see on the internet, but a hero all the same. So for me, this is quite a poignant aircraft to build purely for my own connection. I live about 8 miles away from where the airbase was. So anyway, there's the tale. Let's get the box on the table and let's have a look what's inside, and then we'll see where we go from there. Right, so we've got the box on the table, but I really thought it fitting to show a picture of John Cruickshank in his war service. This is on the Imperial War Museum website to give them full credit for the image. And if you go on Google, you can see lots of images of him today. I think he's got a radio interview recorded, and there's lots of articles about him. But all in all, an absolute hero. And this is the model. Now I'll zoom out, and you can see it's a huge box, an absolute massive box. So this is kit number 04520. It's 1/48 scale. You've got a wing, a length of 41.1 centimeters and a wingspan of 64.7 centimeters. So it is a massive, massive kit. It's a super detail or super decal version. If we can see the end, we've got a little bit of blurb in there, and we've got pictures of the finished model, which obviously include cockpit. We've got the rear blisters, floats, engines and aerial details, and depth charges. The end is just a repeat of the top, and then on the side you have got the kit information. So let's have a look inside the box and see what you get. Now this kit is a few years old. I think it's out of production, and if you want to get it, certainly in UK, you're going to have to pay for it because it's not cheap. They're retailing, well, they're going on eBay for around about the £100 to £150 mark. I was lucky, I got this one on a deal where nobody bid on it, so I got it for a considerable amount cheaper than that. The copyright on this kit is copyrighted 1995, so we are looking at a kit that is nearly 30 years old. Right, this is decals I got from actually Wonderland Models in Edinburgh. This is the extra decal RAF Randalls Type C1, which is the Randalls correct for this kit, because I wasn't sure about the kit decals. But what I've also got, which we'll have a look at later on, is I managed to pick up the Model Alliance decals World War II Coastal Command Part 1, and if you look here, this aircraft here is Juliet Victor 928, so Yankee there. So this is John Cruickshank's aircraft, and there's the decal set for it there. So between the two decal sets, I'll have the right decals for the aircraft, which is perfect. Also that came in this box is the Belcher bits correction for the tail, and there is also a part used True Details cockpit set for the Catalina that I probably will include. So what else do you get in the box? Well, in the actual kit box we get that's the Belcher bit instructions, shows you where the cut the tail off and to put the tail on. We get the old style paper instructions, and you can see these are really, really old, so we'll have a look through them first. And then you get a number of one clear bag, 2 bags of sprues, and then you get the actual decals. And I honestly think these might be usable, but to be honest, they're probably past it. It doesn't matter for us because we won't be using these. We're going to be using the correct decals to model John Cruickshank's aircraft. Right, let me get the box out of the way and we will look at the instructions. So, first page in the old style Revell instructions. Let's zoom in a little bit, there we go. Just take it out of the way so it doesn't get in frame. Paint callouts, basic instructions, and a little bit of blurb. Turn it over, we get a nice plan view of the sprues. So we've got a clear sprue, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sprues, or 6 sprues anyway. So we can see we've got outer wing parts, uppers and lowers, an upper central wing, so we've got a lower centre to outer, and then an upper centre piece. We've got the wingtip floats, tails, we've got bracing struts, interior parts, fuselage halves, more bracing struts, engines, undercarriage that you won't need because that's for beaching gear. Anyway, let's move on. Part 1, putting the cockpit seats together. So cockpit seats, moulded in seat belts, cockpit rear bulkhead, front bulkhead instrument panel, gun platform. We've got the pilot's yoke, control sticks, and a yoke lock there. Moving on to part 4, we're going to the rear part of the fuselage. We've got the 2 waist gunners sections. Part 5, we're putting in the glazing to the aircraft. Part 6, we've got the cockpit instrument panel going in the nose section, the rear bulkhead, and the waist gunner sections going into the rear of the fuselage. Part 7, we're bringing the fuselage together. So not just too complicated a construction, although we'll need to look at the detail in this area to see if it needs enhancing, because it will be very visible. The cockpit, I don't know if it will be so visible because it's lots of individual glazed panels. Part 8, so we've got the lower wings with the cutout for the central pylon, mounting pylon. We've got the upper outers and then the upper central wing section. And we've got some wingtip detail going on there. Part 9 is the engine assembly. Part 10 is the engine being brought onto the wing structure. And then part 11, we've got a choice between shrouded exhaust or open exhaust. I think John Cruickshank's aircraft had open exhaust, but I will need to check that. Part 12 to 14, we've got the wingtip float assemblies going together. Now these can be stowed, either deployed or retracted, and I haven't made my mind up yet if I'm going to be doing an in-flight display or possibly an aircraft taking off or landing on water display, but we'll get to that when we actually get to the build. Part 15, horizontal stabilizers. Part 16, wing coming to the fuselage with the wing braces and the rear horizontal stabilizers being attached. So not just too many steps so far. After part 16, we're looking at the glazing for part 17. So we've got the rear blisters for the machine gun positions, and they can be displayed open or closed. And then we've got the 50 cals or the .30 Brownings, which I think these ones are, going in at the side. Again, I haven't decided whether I'm going to display them open or closed. Part 18, we've got the front gun turret going on, and we've got the cockpit glazing, and I think you can roughly see there that a lot of that's going to be painted in, and there's minimal glazing, so you're probably not going to see much of the cockpit, but we'll have a look. Part 19, we've got the wing mounted depth charges going on. That may be a fuel dump or something under the wing. We've got radio direction finder antennas going under the wing. They of course will need to be left off until the final construction, or you only break them. And then we've got a pitot tube or a mass balance. Not sure about that. Part 20, we're looking at the beaching gear if we're going to use it. So we've got 20 and 21, so you've got the main beaching gear and then the tail beaching gear. And then part 22, we're looking at the antennas, the radio direction finder on top of the wing, landing lights, pitot tube, propellers. And then onto the painting and decaling, which we're going to disregard because we're not doing this early American one. And then the other options for this kit is Consolidated Catalina 1, that's 209 Squadron RAF. Doesn't tell you where it's served, but this is Coastal Command. It will be a similar scheme to this, I think, because this is the dark sea grey over green with the white undersides, although on John's aircraft the white underside came considerably higher up on the airframe. So we may as well look at the decals that we are going to use, and that comes in the form of these Model Alliance decals. Again, these decals I think are out of production, so I picked these ones up off of eBay. Yeah, so you can see you get this considerable white piece going up under the wings and up over the tail. So let's find John's aircraft. I'll just do that quickly off camera because it'll be quicker as trying to do it on camera. Right, here we go. So Consolidated Catalina Mark 5A, Juliet Victor 928 Yankee, flown by Flight Lieutenant John Cruickshank of 210 Squadron, Royal Air Force, RAF Sullenvoe, Shetland Islands, 1944. This is depicting this aircraft being extra dark sea grey over white. This is possibly a picture of that aircraft. However, I've also seen the aircraft depicted the extra dark sea grey and green over white. So a little bit of research to figure out which camo pattern I'm going to need to apply for the aircraft. But either way, a striking scheme, and I'm really looking forward to doing it. Parts. Right, these sprues are huge, they truly are. I'm going to start with the glazing, purely because it's the smallest sprue. Nicely single sealed bag, which is good, and absolutely crystal clear. I think you can see that, they're beautifully clear. Put my hand underneath it, you can see my hand through it. Very, very impressed. So lovely moulding by Revell, so I'm going to drop them. Very small windows, great portions of this. I mean, I think I'll probably be getting an Edard mask set for this, but there is a distinct possibility of not seeing much of the cockpit through that, but anyway, we'll see. But the glazing is really nice for all that. Right, next sprue is a absolute massive 2-sprue in a bag, and yes, there is some flash, so there's obviously a slightly older moulding. Looking at the scale in centimetres on my cutter mat, this is an A3 cutter mat, and that is extended to 42 centimetres, and there are some parts off the sprue which we'll need to be careful to keep because I'm not sure what they are. Right, we'll look at this one first. Seems it's got most of the bits on it. First impressions, I think you can hear that. Really nice crisp plastic. Alright, let's see if we can catch this in the light. Can you see the rivet detail? That is absolutely beautiful. So you've got the rivet detail on the forward section of the wing, and then over the rear section of the wing you've got this canvas, linen, doped linen effect over the wing ribs, and it's absolutely stunning. Now, another one of the aircraft flown from RAF Sullenvoe crashed in an island called Yell, which is to the north of Sullenvoe, in a place called Arsdale. And the centre section, or a great piece of the centre section of the wing, is still at the crash site, and you can see the edge of the wing where the linen over frame aerofoil section obviously burnt away. So you can see this hard edge there, and it looks kind of unwing-like, but when you realise that this is still the old doped linen over frame technique of making an aircraft, you can understand why the wing looks so square and boxy. Anyway, I digress. From the wing, we've got the wingtip floats, which again, they look really nice. That's obviously the outside edge, and there is the inside edge. You've got some witness marks where the ejector pins are on the other side. We'll look at them in a minute. I figured out what those bits are. They are the broken tail fins of depth charges that have broken off here. Never mind, we can fix them. So we've got the waist guns here. We've got the rear of the engine nacelles. We've got the ammunition belts. We've got the rear fuselage section, rear cockpit section. That possibly is a rear. No, that's a rear fuselage section. That's part of the front cockpit. In fact, that will be the front cockpit section, and that will be the forward bulkhead to the wing pylon section with the folding seats up against it. We've got the radio antennas in one piece, which is really nice. We've got the steering yokes here, possibly fuel dumps here, bracing for the beaching gear, wing top antennas, propellers, all very, very nice. So I'll have a quick scoot around, look at the detail on the kit. If I can get it all in. It is a huge sprue, and that wing section alone is massive, absolutely massive. I would grab a 48 scale Spitfire and it wouldn't be able to span that distance. That shows you how big this aircraft is. On the reverse side there is a few ejector pin marks, but they won't be seen. However, these ones here are leaving a slight witness mark on the other side, so they might need a bit of attention. Right, next sprue is a wing sprue, so I think you can again see how large this is. These are the horizontal stabilizers, absolutely massive. We've got some more depth charges there, and we've got a full underside of the wing, so from the edge to the center here, this recess here is where it mounts onto the vertical pylon in the center of the fuselage. And it is a fully riveted kit, and those rivets are absolutely beautiful. So this is a 1995 kit, I think, and it's a comparable to a kit made today, without a shadow of a doubt. Excuse me. Definitely one of Revell's better toolings. We've got the shrouded exhausts, we've got the control yoke frame here. There is the whole wing. I think you can see that there with the light shining off it. Absolutely stunning. So rivet and fabric texture. We've got an upper wing here. Again, in keeping, riveted, fully fabric section. We've got fabric. We do have a copyright mark here on the trim tab, which is 1995, so this is a 30-year-old kit. Again, on the reverse of it, we've got ejector pins, but none of that's going to be seen. Right, I'm having to set them well out of the way because I need the space. Right, the next bag is the fuselage and the other wing parts. Again, visibly there's a lot of flash on the runners, but these are huge runners, so there's no wonder that there might be a bit of flash just with warpage of the mold for the pressures that are needed for this. Right, again, wing sections. So on the other, this over here, we've got the opposing side, under wing, upper wing, horizontal stabilizers. We've got the pilot seat assembly and the forward gun turret assembly. If we look at the pilot seats, nice molded in, sharply molded as well, I have to say. Seatbelt detail. Nice framing and nice floor detail there. And again, if we look at these wings, you can see all the little panels, access panels on the centers of the wings moving out, all that detail. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm really, really impressed with this. Right, save the best for last. This is huge, and I'm just going to put it down. That is 49 centimeters on my chopping board. My goodness, it is so large. Fuselage halves. We've got, it looks like pilot's foot pedals. This bit's broken here. That's part of the rear beaching gear. We've got access walkway here. This is the forward beaching gear with the wheels. We've got some pretty suspect engine details, although, you know, with a bit of paint and details and a bit of wiring on it, they'll look okay. The aperture on the engine cells isn't huge, but it's molded beautifully. We've got the four main support struts, and then we've got the fuselage, and it's absolutely stunning. Look at the detail, and there's texture in the airframe. There's You can feel the difference in the panels where you've got armoured panelling for where the prop run is. You've got all these panel lines. They're beautifully engraved. They're all very much in scale. They're all very much in keeping with each separate panel. So you've got consistency over the mould. You've got the fabric covered control surfaces on the vertical tail surface. And then looking underneath, you've got all the riveting detail. One thing that is on this kit that you might need to think about is the pre-molded mooring rope. So that might need to be taken off and a proper copper wire put on instead. If we look on the inside, there are some beastly ejector pin marks that are going to have to be seen to, I think, here. We'll have to trial fit the interior to see. Obviously these ones aren't going to be seen, so they're not too bad, though it might not hurt just filing some of them down if you're seeing them through the small openings. And that's the last of the sprues. Now we do have in this bag here the Belcher bit replacement's tail, and what we'll do is we'll do a quick overlay to see the difference, because it is quite major surgery and I'll have to think hard before cutting up a kit of this quality. From what I read, the fault area of the kit is in here. It's too flat, it's not as drawn in, and you can actually see the difference between the two where you look at the profile here where it's more rounded, and you look at the profile on the kit where it's flat. So this area here is the problem area. You can see that side by side, that the kit is flatter. That should be more drawn in there. Whether we're going to break a deal and change it, I don't know, but as I say, this was in the kit, so I've got the option of using it. If we get the rear tail surface, we can put that on the kit, and there's really not much in it, a little bit shorter. So I might use it, I might not. I will decide as we go through the build whether I actually want to start hacking this apart, because it is a beautiful kit. So probably there's a high probability I'll end up just building it out of the box, just to remain on focus and keep the enjoyment going. Right, I'm not going to look at the cockpit stuff because it's all kind of rumbled around. It's not its original packaging, and I don't know if I'm going to use it, to be honest with you. But we'll decide that near the time. What I probably will do is get an Edard mask set, and I'll also get the Edard photo etch set, which will enhance the wingtip floats when they're deployed. But that will be for the build series, which, guess what's coming up soon. Anyway, enough chatter from me. Let's get back let's put the stuff back in the box, get the camera up on me, and I will sum up with some conclusions. So there we are. Revell's 1/48 scale consolidated PBY 5 Catalina. Thoughts? Well, I have to say it's a great kit because I love these kits. It's my favourite aircraft. But if I step aside from my bias and look at the kit objectively, let's bear in mind this thing was tooled in 1995. It's not overly complicated. It's been pressed or molded with nice crisp plastics. The detail is very, very good for a 1995 kit. You know, we've got beautiful, even, consistent recessed panel lines. We've got consistent recessed rivet detail. We've got beautiful fabric effect control surfaces, and we've got reasonably good interior detail for its time. Everything's there in the box to make a really standout display piece, and it's massive. You know, if you like big models, there you go. It's huge. The Catalina was a big aircraft, and this will be a big model in 1/48 scale. So I have to say, you know, if you can get one, pick it up. If you can get one cheaply, really pick it up, because these things are holding their price really, really well. As I said, they're retailing on eBay UK for about £100 to £150, which, you know, it's what, $125 to $180 roundabouts. That's really good money for an old kit. and it's because it's out of production. And these particular pure seaplane versions are a lot more sought after because they're rarer. They didn't do as many in the production run. There's been a numerous different options of the amphibious version, both in wartime service but also post-war sea rescue service. So if you can't get this particular kit, look for one of the amphibious versions, and it gives you a little bit more display option because you've got the retractable undercarriage. You can display it on a hard stand if you're not doing an in-flight display on that, so that's another option. And I have to say, the marking schemes for the SC rescue aircraft are really rather nice. I do have one in the stash, and I may make that too in its SC rescue markings just because it looks amazing. This, however, is a tribute build to John Cruickshank, as the last surviving recipient of the Victoria Cross from World War II, but also a tribute to all the brave men and women that put their lives on the line in service of their countries, and really from all sides. It was a heroic time with a generation that will never be repeated. And we're still living the freedoms that they fought for in the bleak days of the 1940s. So I am building this, and I'm building this very, very shortly, and it is a tribute build out there for all the guys and girls that really put their best foot forward. So there we go. I have to say this is highly recommended if you can get one. There is aftermarket options available which will enhance the kit further. You can get resin replacement engines. You can get photo etch sets for exterior panels and for the wingtip floats. You can get mask sets, and you can get a plethora of decal options for this kit, and the amphibious version as well. So you're really spoilt for choice. The Belcher Bits tail correction and the True Details cockpit set, not so easy to come by. They're both well out of production, so it's going to be a case of trolling eBay or bring and buy sale, model sales, model conventions, or club, web forums and stuff, putting the shout out if you want them. As I said, I've got them, but I don't know if I'm going to use them because it's a brave decision to start hacking apart a kit that is as beautiful as this. So I might not use it for this kit, but as I said, I do have the amphibious kit. I might use them for that. Anyway, Revell's 1/48 scale PBY 5 Catalina, highly recommended. If you've got any questions or comments, pop them down below. I always take the time to read and answer them, and I'm very grateful for people taking the time to message me. If you'd like to support the channel, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Again, that's fantastic. But until next time, guys, happy modeling and stay safe.